The cookie butter is so good. It's staring at me. What is in this cookie butter?
It's so good. It's almond butter, coconut oil, a special plant protein from Ecuador, hemp seeds, goji berries,
Wow.
and a little bit of coconut sugar.
How are you so ahead of the curve? Like, I want to go back to how you even got into wellness. When do you remember your first moment that you like sort of fell in love with it?
So I think for me, it's been a part of my life my whole life. I mean, I grew up in a healthy family. My parents were always exercising every day. We were eating healthy food. My grandfather did 1,000 push-ups and sit-ups a day till he was 90.
Wow.
So it was in my DNA, and then just sort of grew up with it. And then in high school, I was making superfood smoothies before it was a thing. I mean, we're talking like I don't even know if the Vitamix existed, so I don't even know how I was making them. I was making healthy chocolate chip cookies. So sort of all of that was in me. And then probably 15 years ago, well, there's a whole bunch of other story that goes with this, but 15 years ago, superfood specifically became interesting because I read an article in Oprah magazine, and it was talking about maca and goji berries and spirulina and all these things and mushrooms, things that were not on the map yet. And I will never forget the article, and I freaked out and geeked out, and I was like, what are these? I need to know everything about them. So all of those things were sort of pebbles along the way. And then I geeked out on superfoods, and I've been doing that for 13 years.
So go back before you had children. What were you doing that was wellnessy before kids? Were you doing, besides, you said making cookies, you said that you were reading about them. What were you doing that you can remember and put your finger on that you were like right before you had kids?
So honestly, nothing outside of just taking care of myself and always being obsessed with health and like wanting to feel empowered with my health. So, but I didn't take a career track with that. Actually, well, here's the irony. So my first job out of college was with Nestle, and I was selling chili and cheese sauce and country sausage gravy and corned beef hash. And I was horrified because I somehow didn't know that that's what I was going to be doing. I thought I was going to be planning parties or something. And so that it's kind of ironic to think back to like, that's how I started, but that was so not my DNA. But what was funny about that experience is that I found these sauces that they had, these salad dressing sauces. And I was like, oh, I'm going to turn these into like the most incredible like pasta salads and salads. And I'm going to make Nestle healthy. And I created a cookbook that I then took to the biggest salad bar chain in the country and sold them the sauces. So for me, that was like redeeming myself since I was selling such junk food. So I think, again, it was like all these things led me to where I am now. But like many people, I had a lot of other twists and turns along the way. I mean, from there, I worked at Oracle for many years. So I went into the software side of things, became a business development. I worked in the e-commerce world for a long time. And then as it got to a point, my daughter was 4, we were living in the Bay Area. I hit that point of like, okay, we want to have more kids. This is a crazy lifestyle. I'm living on an airplane. Let's slow me down and let's move to San Diego.
And is your husband with you with the business side, or is he doing his own thing?
So I'm not married anymore, but at the time, he and I moved to San Diego. We had 2 more kids. We moved to Santa Luz.
Okay.
And then had 2 more kids there. And as soon as I got there, I was like, okay, the entrepreneurial bug was in me. And I'm like, okay, I got to do something. What can I do to make the most amount of money with the least amount of time and be with my kids and be creative? So I started a window coverings business and interior design company. And so I did that for like 6 or 7 years, and it served its purpose. I got to be creative and made great money and was there for my kids. But there was always this inner burning, like I have a bigger purpose. There's something I'm supposed to do that's so much bigger, that's supposed to make an impact in the world. And I just felt like that anxiety, but I didn't know what it was. So fast forward, and this is sort of like how I got hit over the head with just like, this is what I'm going to go do. I was 38. I went to go see the gynecologist for a regular checkup. And I said, I just don't feel right. I'm losing my hair. I have no energy. I'm gaining weight. I feel inflamed. My workouts aren't the same. Now, mind you, I was healthy. Like people always came to me to say, what should I eat and how should I exercise?
And when you say healthy, like, is it because you had your diet under control? Were you were doing, your fitness was under control? Like,
yeah. I mean, I exercised every day since I was like 3.
Okay.
So this was like, I'm not one of the people that say I don't have time. Like I will always make time for that. And we just ate healthy. Like I was mindful of it. Now, nothing like where we are today, where we talk about gluten-free and dairy-free and organic. So this is, call it 13, 14 years ago. So I'm at the doctor And I'm saying all these things that I'm feeling. And she looked at me and laughed. And she said, "Oh, honey, welcome to getting older." And I was like, F that. Like, I'm 38. That is not an acceptable answer. And that was sort of a moment of truth for me that I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. There's no way that this is just like it's all downhill from here, especially at 38. So that was one. The other was that my daughter was 11 at the time, I believe, and she had been on ADD medication for 2 years. And it was one of those things. I'd seen 5 doctors. All 5 doctors said, sorry, there's no other option. She has to be on medication. Otherwise, it's going to be really bad. And I just intuitively knew that that was wrong, but I didn't know what to do. And so I think between my moment of truth at 38, between what happened with my daughter, I just decided I was going to take all of this into my own hands, and I started to understand food as medicine. And I read every book I could, and I went to IIN, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I started to understand the power of food. And so through that, I started making simple changes in my diet, my family's diet, my husband.
What? Give us specifics.
So at the time, we weren't as educated. So things like removing gluten, using all organic, using really pure meats and fresh fish, and no processed foods. And we can laugh at this now, but 13 years ago, we thought whole grain goldfish were good for you.
No, I always talk about this on the show. That like span of like the 90s to the early 2000s, there was not a lot of healthy alternatives in the stores, at least.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And we've made so much progress, but we have so much farther to go. And the accessibility, the nice thing is now like Target and Walmart and Costco, you can get organic, right? So huge progress since then. But, wheat thins we thought were healthy for you.
Michael's mom was putting Windex in his Cheerios. So yeah.
No, but I think about like I think I was always similar to you. Like, I always took care of myself, I thought. But when it comes to diet, like I think a lot of our parents and a lot of people that were, bringing in the food at that time, like that, like the option, I remember when they started talking about organic, like there was like specialty stores for that. There wasn't a lot of stores that carried organic anything.
It was crazy expensive.
Yep.
And there was the whole argument, is organic really that much different? Do you remember that whole battle? And like, does it really make a difference? So again, we've come a long way, but at that time, just starting to be more aware of like, and let's be real, kids love pasta, pizza, all things bread and gluten.
What's the food pyramid? Think about like what we're taught, like the food pyramid's like total bullshit,
Exactly. And even that still hasn't changed. So it was like, oh, wait, gluten actually is an inflammatory and it causes inflammation in the body and the brain. What if I take it out of my child's diet? What if I take it out of my diet? And even though I was using really good bread, it still is gluten.
Right.
And so, and it just was, and then even all the snacks and things that kids eat, which is really hard to avoid, eating more vegetables, having really clean, plant, or not just plants, but also, meats and fishes. And just by making those simple changes, my health transformed. And I did a game with my daughter. I said, let's for 2 weeks just see what would happen if we remove, if we put all these things out and we just do lots of fruits and vegetables and we do, really yummy meats and stuff. And so she's like, okay, Mom. And in 2 weeks, her brain was completely fine and she did not need to be on medication anymore. And that was a moment of truth.
How do you mean her brain was completely fine?
She was thinking fine. She was acting fine. Her behavior was fine. Like she was not hyper anymore.
Well,
she could read a book and retain it.
And like yellow, whatever,
Exactly.
and all the
bullshit.
weird shit and all the food.
No, but that was, I remember being a kid in elementary school in San Diego. And like, listen, granted, I was a problem child and I was bouncing off the walls, but like the answer was always like, put this guy on that kind of medicine. And my dad, like he had the same kind of intuition. He's like, no, I don't think so. And I feel like again, during that period of time, like that was the answer from a lot of people. It's like, oh, they need medicine. They need medicine. They wouldn't think about like change the diet, change the ingredients.
It was never a part of the conversation. No. Not one doctor ever said that. And I remember running with Kim Kelly, one of the girls in a boot camp, and she was talking about her daughter having migraines, and they put the daughter on medication. And I was like, will you just try removing gluten? And sure enough, she had a gluten allergy. And she didn't need to be on medication for a migraine. And so all of these things were happening. I mean, obviously the transformation with my daughter was massive. And for me, and as a mom, I was like pissed. I was like, this is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, why did I have to go figure this out on my own? Thank God I did and took it into my hands. But now I needed to go tell the world. And how am I going to do that? And so that really became the precursor to my last brand, Beaming, which was, how can I help people feel and experience how good you feel when you just make simple shifts in your diet? And it isn't about making it perfect, but it's just like little steps that lead to better health. And by doing that and creating all these healthy, delicious, I made healthy taste amazing is what I did.
Amazing, you guys, because I'm from San Diego and it was amazing and it was so avant-garde. It really was.
We were ahead of our time for sure. And but I've always been a foodie. And so I'm like, if I'm going to eat this, it better taste really good. And so it had to be like really delicious salads and wraps and smoothies. And we sprouted our own almond milk. And we were using all of these superfoods that I had found in the Oprah magazine that no one had heard of. Like maca wasn't a thing then, and mushrooms, using reishi and cordyceps and chaga. So it really was me just obsessing because I wanted this for myself. And the other thing that was also, I think, timely for that is that was during the juice fasting days.
Yep.
You remember those days?
Those are big days. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
God, eye roll, please.
3-day cleanse. I remember that. Remember the juicers 3-day cleanse?
Yeah, the juicers, that's where everyone
You can
went.
go on my blog in 2011 and look at that. When you see the gal.
Listen, that was still like in my courting phase, and I was trying to lock Lauren down, and she showed up with these like jugs of juice. I was like, you got to do these for 3 days. And I was like, oh, I don't know.
People were miserable because you were drinking like beets and carrots for one whole day. I'm like, talk about a sugar crash, right?
Yeah.
And so I was watching this craziness happen. Of course, I did some of it too. So then I was like, I'm going to go figure out this cleansing thing because I would watch my friends party from Thursday to Sunday and then juice fast from that freaking juice bar from Monday to Wednesday. And I thought, I'm not a doctor, but this cannot be good for you.
Yeah.
And so I went to New York and I went to like We Care Spa and I went to every spa I could go to really understand this concept of cleansing. And going back to the juice fasting days, there's like 220 grams of sugar a day in those things. So like the max you should have in any day is like 50 grams of sugar, and that's high. But that's like, most people have like 150. There's 220 grams of sugar in most of those, which is great. No no protein, no fiber, no fat, nothing to fuel your brain.
Not to mention the juice was just sitting in jugs for days.
I mean, they were dead by the time you drink them. So
I don't even know if it was organic.
I know it wasn't because I went in his kitchen. I actually went back in his kitchen because I was snooping. It was not organic at all.
What the fuck, Lauren? What did you make me do?
There's different seasons, Michael.
But that was the thing. That's what everyone was doing. It was just maddening. So anyway, that was just like typical for me. I was like, I'm going to change this. I'm going to approach cleansing differently, and we're going to do it with food. With the idea, so building Beaming started with this beta cleanse that I came out with, which was completely new concept in the country of like, we're going to eat food, but we're going to cleanse with food, but we're going to make it really freaking good. I brought in one of the top cleansing experts in the country, Adina Niemerow. I brought in great chefs and lived in the kitchen to go create the first Beaming cleanse with soup and salads and snacks. And there was a juice, but it wasn't like 6 or 7 juices a day. And there was elixirs and like real food that you would want every day. Novel concept.
Was the idea behind the cleanse like it was just to clean out the system and get healthy, or was it like a weight loss cleanse?
Great question. So let's be real. Everyone wants weight loss.
Sure.
That's what people buy.
Yeah.
So call a spade a spade. But I was always looking at it like, you're going to get the weight loss. What I really want is the awakening. Like I want you to, when you put this food in your body and one, it's good. So you're not punishing yourself. You actually enjoy it. And then you feel the difference because that's how we're going to best learn. And so as people were feeling the difference and all of a sudden, yes, they got the weight loss, the inflammation went away, sleep got better, brain got clearer, all the things that we want. And it was so easy. And that was really what I was going after is if I can make this so enjoyable, would you want these foods all the time? And so that Beaming cleanse that I launched, but you guys weren't part of the beta, were you?
I think that I tried products that were on the cleanse, but I didn't do the cleanse.
Before we launched or after we launched?
After you launched.
Okay. So before we launched, we did a year of these beta cleanses. And like 1,000 people went through this. And we were like creating this out of.
Oh, you mean before you even had the stores?
Before I even opened the stores.
Oh, okay, okay.
So this was this whole concept of leading to food is medicine. How can I share this with the world and do it in a way that's never been done before? Right. And the concept for beaming was in my head, but I had to go prove it first. So I launched this cleanse, this food-based cleanse. It became a cult followed in San Diego, and like 1,000 people went through it. And we were producing it out of a cupcake kitchen, mind you. And I was like calling my friends, having them deliver these cleanses to people all over San Diego. My children were labeling bottles and packing teas. Like it was like madness. But it was also a really beautiful time because it was working. Like people would call me and freak out on day 4. Like, I can't stop. I feel better than I felt my entire life. I want this all the time.
I find those moments in business the most memorable moments, though, right? Like
100%.
when things are kind of going like smooth, or I mean, obviously you work towards the smooth and the win when it comes to growing the business. But I think like what you remember are those moments.
Absolutely. I mean, those are such magical moments. They were hard, really hard. And I was
Sure.
going through divorce. I had no money, and this was like literally out of the garage kind of thing.
Wait, you're going through a divorce as you're doing all this. So that must have been really hard with 3 children.
3 little kids. Yeah. No,
And
super
was
intense.
your ex-husband supportive of what you were doing, or was he like,
I mean, he and I had a very amicable separation, but I don't think he actually believed that I was going to pull this off. Like, it wasn't like he was like, go, Lisa, go.
okay, when you tell the rest of the story, you have to tell us what happened when it did take off, what his energy was, but go on.
So this was super successful. So the people who did the beta, some of them ended up funding and helped me raise money to open the first cafe in Del Mar.
You essentially kind of, you crowdfunded a bit, like
Yeah.
by involving people and having them be a part of the experience. It's very smart.
Proof of concept.
Very smart.
And so that worked. And so got the first money. And actually, this is a cool story because since you were at that first beaming in Del Mar,
Mhm.
do you remember there was like 10 juice bars before then that had all like bombed?
In the place that Beaming was.
In the place that beaming was.
Yes.
And I
I
went.
only remember Beaming though. Isn't that funny?
Well, because it was the only one that was
Because
worth remembering.
what's
but-
there right now? The
I think it's Earth Bar now because
it?
Earth
Okay.
Bar bought beaming.
okay, yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
Right.
but all of these juice bars had failed, and this was just a fun kind of store. And I remember I was looking for a location, couldn't find one. I was standing outside of where Beaming ended up being, the first one, and I started crying. I was like, I just want to open this store. Like, this is crazy. I want that location. And so I walked in, and I asked for the owner randomly, and she's like, "That's me." And I said, "I know this is a crazy question, but any chance you would want to sell?" And she's like, "Oh my God, did you just hear my conversation with my husband? Like, I just told him I want to get out, sell the business." And I was like, "Me, I'm in, I'm done. How much?" And that day I bought them out of their lease and I took over that space for Beaming Del Mar.
Wow.
This episode is brought to you by C's Candy. C's Candy is so nostalgic. Like, I just remember being at the mall with my mom and we would walk by their beautiful, crisp white store. And I would beg her to go in to get one of those caramel lollipops. If you're an OG C's lover, which I'm sure you are, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Every time that I see a C's, I want to stop and show Zaza. They have the cutest little heart boxes, which are so amazing for Valentine's Day. We're going to get to that. But just all of their candy is timeless. It's classic. It's unique. It's a great gift. So here's the deal. They have all these different cute gift options for kids, romantic partners, families, even your colleague. Be sure to order by February 6th. You want to go to C's.com to make sure your C's Valentine's Day gifts get there in time for Valentine's Day. Or you can always do what I like to do and stop by your local C's shop for all your Valentine's Day gifts. Go in there and just try every single candy that they have. There's no added preservatives and all candies are American made in Los Angeles and San Francisco. They're also, you guys, still handmade and hand decorated, which is wild. I'm a huge fan and I will be getting Michael an iconic box of C's. You're going to visit C's.com, that's SEES.com, to shop their Valentine's Day treats and gifts online now or shop the full assortment at your local C's Candy in shops tomorrow. Do you want self-care, mindfulness, bar, Pilates, cardio, HIIT, and yoga? Well, let me introduce you to Alo Moves. It's a one-stop shop for everything wellness. This is such an incredible way to start 2023. I mean, they have 3,000 plus classes and they have them for every level. And also, you should know that 100 new classes every month are added. So you always have fresh content. And you guys, they have a sale. And let me tell you, it's a half off sale. How about 60% off sale? I've been using Hello Moves to help me incorporate more feel-good movement and mindfulness into my day. And honestly, it's a game changer. Just to give you a little background, Alo Moves is the streaming on-demand platform with yoga, fitness, and meditation classes from one of my favorite brands, Alo Yoga. So you know that you're getting quality studio-style sessions. This time of year is always a time to reflect on personal goals and changes, and using Alo Moves can absolutely help you with that. Right now, all Skinny Confidential Him and Her listeners get 30 days free. You guys, 30 days free. All you have to do is use code SKINNY30. And if you love it like I do, you can take 60% off your first year. Get started now with 30 days for free with code SKINNY30. Join me. You're going to go to Alo Moves, that's ALO moves.com, and get 30 days free only when you use code SKINNY30. Then, if you're loving it like I am, you get 60% off your annual membership, all with code SKINNY30. Do not miss their biggest sale ever. You're going to go to alomoves.com and get started today.
If there is any silver lining over the last 2 years, it's that so many people are really, really paying attention for the first time to the best ways to take care of themselves, which is why we love ZocDoc so much for our audience. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. When Lauren and I moved from California to Texas, we had to go through the exercise of finding a whole new medical team. ZocDoc is incredible for this because it helps you find and then choose from thousands of patient-reviewed doctors and specialists, browse doctor profiles, upload and verify your insurance information. For many of the millennial listeners out there, remember when you were a kid and you just got stuck with the same doctor because that happened to be the person that somebody knew that was in your area and you never really shopped around. It was just the same guy, same girl, and you really didn't understand why. You had no real relationship. You just showed up in an office and here's a lollipop kid and good luck. Those days are long gone. I love this platform so much because I think medical attention needs to be personal. I think you actually need to have a relationship with the medical practitioner that is going to be looking at you, checking your information, deciding what is best for you after learning more about you personally, which is why this platform is so incredible, especially if you need specialists in other areas. So again, ZocDoc is one of our best recommendations for anyone seeking medical care. So to check it out, go to ZocDoc.com/skinny and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/skinny, ZocDoc.com/skinny.
Now, was Delmar Kids just like a little off story? Was Delmar Kids next to
Delmar
you?
Kids was right next door.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's vintage. This is vintage,
we
guys.
are going way back.
No, we're going way back. Okay, so you opened Beaming, and Beaming is wildly successful. in
Wildly
San Diego.
successful.
You guys, it was like something, it was like Erewhon energy. It was like a very shocking, surprising thing in San Diego, but you always had a huge line.
We had a line at the door from the day we opened. Now I had built all this momentum through the beta, right? So
Right.
there was no social media at the time. It wasn't
No.
like we launched on Instagram or like, hello, we're open. So it was all word of mouth. And the crazy thing, it was 900 square feet. Our kitchen was maybe 50 square feet, 100 square feet.
Yeah, it's a small space. Like I just keep thinking about it now. It's a very small space.
And we were producing so much food. You couldn't even fit in the kitchen because there was boxes of produce everywhere. And we were juicing all our own stuff and making our own nut milks. I mean, it was total mayhem. But somehow we were pulling it off and people were obsessed. And it ended up becoming the most successful concept in the country in its time, which is what's important to mention there too, that we were talking about earlier is like December 2012, San Diego only had Jamba Juice. So there was no like organic juice bar, healthy grab and go, nowhere in San Diego. And so I introduced this very high-end, up-leveled experience with $10, $12 smoothies, $14 acai bowls. And people just became obsessed. And one of the things that I just am most proud of is that the kids became obsessed. And if you remember, it's tucked behind McDonald's. There was no street signage.
I worked at McDonald's.
Even better.
I worked there.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
So when it takes off like this, what is your ex-husband supporting this?
No, he really was not involved with the process at all.
But was he like go
No.
Lisa, or was it like
No,
no?
he was not.
And the reason I ask this is because I think there's a lot of women that are listening that's, to be blunt, are pressed down by men. Like if they're
Yeah.
married, they're like a lot of women that I talk to in my DMs, the men try to keep them small.
Lauren, can you be quiet for a second? I'm just.
Shut the fuck up, Dick.
I was like, that doesn't seem to be a problem for you, Lauren.
I love you too.
No, but like I feel like a lot of men like press women down and make them smaller so they can feel big and powerful. So that's why I asked that question.
So I didn't have that, but he certainly wasn't cheerleading me. I mean, to this day, he's never said, "Wow, Lisa, what you've done is amazing."
Hopefully
Never.
he's listening.
You know, though, I don't.
know.
I listen. There are. I'll defend men a little bit because I'm the only man on the show. I do think there are men for sure that do that, but I think that there's a lot of men that are just, especially nowadays, are struggling with the dynamic of like that traditional patriarchy may not be the same anymore. Like that, the
Right.
woman stays home and the guy
Well,
goes.
I'm
and works.
struggling with the dynamic that we've had to carry children
No,
for
but
the
I'm
last
saying, like, if you-
billion years.
but,
That's not fun.
Like a lot of people
That's
that
not gonna
kind of,
change.
especially probably people in your husband's generation, like the example was like that, the mom stayed home, the dad went to work. And so like they struggle when like the woman starts to become the breadwinner or starts to maybe overtake them or become the entrepreneur. I'm just saying, like, a little empathy, Lauren.
I think that's certainly a real thing. I wasn't experiencing it, but it did hurt me that he wasn't like cheering me on because we still had a very amicable, divorce, and it wasn't like there was no like encouragement. He sort of just rolled his eyes and was like, "Let's see if she really pulls this off."
Oh, she pulled it off.
And she pulled it off, and something else.
So you're in Beaming. You're working with partners at this point?
So I raised money. And then because we were so successful, people were flying in from all over the country to see what we had done. And our kitchen, we outgrew it the day we opened. So I immediately needed to raise more money. And so that became the next round of money. And I raised all through angels, which were basically all customers, and which was an amazing thing to do. What I didn't know in doing that is that I had never raised money before. I'd never had a business plan. So both times I raised money was pretty naive. And so I just sort of took money from anyone. And, people would buy a seat on the board. This very famous woman came in and she offered me $1 million. And at the time I thought, well, that's amazing. I'm raising 3. So there's a third of it. And she said, but I want a seat on the board. And I gave her a seat on the board and she was like 85 years old and completely irrelevant. She would argue with me about why we were spending money on social media and we should advertise in newspapers. And
Christ.
so my stories with that were absolutely bonkers because it was some really hard lessons around like, be careful who you go to business with.
So if you're looking back at yourself, would you tell yourself not to give someone a seat at the board? What are the things that you would tell yourself looking back?
Well, so when you go through what I went through, which we can get to, but you have to pause and go, okay, how did I get here and how do I never end up here again? Right? I mean, I built this amazing brand. You want to like be surrounded by people who support you, are excited, that are and because the shit's going to hit the fan too. So not only are they cheerleading and supporting in the good times, but really in the bad times. And I didn't have that. And I think if you're raising money, the first thing people want is like, well, who's on the board? And I'll tell you, raising money for my new company, Kroma, we only had invited one person. So it's my business partner and I and one other person on the board. So there's only 3 of us. And we maintain control. And I think that's a really important part. And that's not always going to be the case as we get bigger and bigger. But for now, in this early stage, having the freedom and the autonomy to make decisions, to make mistakes, and not have people breathing down your neck, and have people ultimately that have influence that could destroy the business. And that's what actually happened, for Beaming, sadly.
Tell me what happened and tell me when you started to notice that something was going astray.
So we were on fire, and we're 2 years in, and I raised a bunch of this money, and so we're going to go expand. We couldn't find any more locations in San Diego, and I just didn't think San Diego was ready for us yet. I was looking at Orange County and LA, and we ended up opening 3 locations in LA in 3 months: Santa Monica, Brentwood, and West Hollywood. So, which was a crazy time because I didn't have a life in LA. Like I had no idea. And mind you, again, I'm still a single mom with 3 kids. So I'm trying to open all these stores in LA. My daughter, who had been working with me since she was 13, came up to LA with me. I think she was 15, 16 at the time, and opened all these stores with me. And we just sort of had to build a life in LA because I had to entrench myself. And it took off, and all the celebrities came and people were obsessed with it. And, it did what it did in San Diego. And so that got more and more, followership, and people got really excited. And then we ended up ultimately building it to 10 locations. We partnered with Equinox in a couple locations. We actually even opened at the Southwest terminal at LAX. So we really became a real brand, and we were in every magazine and, had a lot of incredible attention. But I think as I probably 4 years in, things are really tough. I mean, owning bricks and mortar, and it's not an easy business, especially perishables, very complex. Opening in a new market is not easy. And we were struggling with just some of the different, economics of it, I guess. And without going into the boring details, it ended up in a situation where I was very much in conflict with my board. And I really wanted us to, not only take the good of what the stores were doing, but how do we focus on non-perishables, build the business online. We had to go online. We had to have a better economies of scale, better margins, reach more people. That was always my vision. And the board really felt like you can't do both things. You can only choose one. And I'm like, okay, since I'm a little girl, I don't like no. So no does not work for me. I'm like, why can't we? And so it was very much handcuffed. And
because they look at other businesses that couldn't, so they just assumed this one could.
And none of these people had any experience in the industry.
Yep.
So I was surrounded by people who did not add value, sadly. And then it became a very painful process because this beautiful brand who was changing lives, people were obsessed. I had such a great vision for it. And I had the wrong people. And it was very painful because ultimately I ended up having to walk away because I was so misunderstood. And like what we were building was so misunderstood. And it eventually was sold off to Earth Bar. But the great thing about what Beaming is, people still stop me on the street and, tell me how much they love it, what their favorite product was. I'm very proud of the brand that we built. And I got to learn some incredible lessons. And that became sort of my launch pad for my next creations.
So did you leave Beaming knowing that you were going to create something else, or did you take a step back and think about what that was? I think a lot of people have this question because I notice a lot of people will quit their job and then they feel like right away they need to do something.
Yeah, great question. So I mean, I'm a creator, and so I always have ideas. I will tell you that coming off of that, I thought I would just go off and create again. And, I was going to create these healthy cocktails. And before healthy cocktails became a thing. And what I found was I knew I had to do the deep work to understand I've built this amazing company, but I've made some mistakes. And I really had to do some accountability checks. Like, how did I get here? How do I never get here again? I went to Hoffman.
Everybody talks about that.
Oh my God, you got to go off on that for a minute. Talk about Hoffman.
I'll riff on Hoffman.
One of my business partner swears by
Katy
that.
Perry did it. Justin Bieber.
Yeah, I did it before all the Hollywood people did it. But
yeah,
yes,
Emma Grady. Jen Adkins. Go on. You have to. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to tell us about
So
that.
I mean, it was something that I knew there was some deeper work for me, and to expand on that a little bit more, it was like in business, there's other things that influence outcomes, right? Like, it's like you can be the smartest person in the world. You could have your MBA, all those things. But there's other things that are blind spots. And for me, I was aware that there was maybe some underlying blind spots within my own, upbringing, if you will, that may have prevented the outcome I wanted.
What do you mean? Can you elaborate on that?
Like, okay, so for me, what I found out was, sort of on my own, I was like, okay, what happened here? How did I build such an amazing brand and have to walk away? And one of the things I realized, and this is maybe going to sound really weird, but I realized that I said I had hired my parents as my board, which for me meant nothing I did was good enough. That's how I felt as a little girl with my parents. My parents are amazing, but that was my experience growing up, was I just felt like I was very judged. And being with this board, it was like the same, I'd recreated the same dynamic.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's deep shit.
That's some deep shit.
That's deep shit.
You literally recreated your childhood within the business.
Oh yeah, we do that. That's not an uncommon thing.
Oh, I know. We like the chaos of it.
I mean, we
right?
do it in relationships.
Yeah.
You end up marrying your dad or something.
No, he's married his dad. You married your dad.
I don't know if I can look at you the same right now.
So you realized that there was parallels between your
Absolutely.
childhood and the board. Okay.
And also, if you really want me to go into it, it's like I had this thing of like never feeling like I belonged, right? Well, guess what? Like I, ended up having to leave my brand. So, like all of these underlying things, and I'm very introspective, and I've always been like very much into like reading, I call it self-help, but whatever things that would continue to enhance and help me evolve. So when I went through that, lost all my money, didn't have anything, literally, and really hit bottom, I had to climb out. And so Hoffman was part of that journey. And, for people who do or don't know about it, I mean, Hoffman is a 7-day intense program. It's a incredibly transformative program, and people, men, women go, and I think you don't come out the same. And I can't say much about it outside of the fact that it's, I think, something everyone should do.
And you have no phone, no technology, right?
No phone, no technology, full immersion. I think there's 35, 45 people. And, it's 8 to 10 every day.
And it's quiet, right?
It's super quiet. I mean, and what I loved about it is you're not sitting around talking about, and then my dad did this, and then my mom did that. Like, it's a very internal experience.
So people aren't there trying to like star fuck.
Yeah,
meaning like there's not, if they see like a celebrity, they're not trying to like network with the celebrity.
I hope not. I mean, there was no celebrity there when I was there, but
Okay.
I think that it's a pretty safe place.
No, but
for
like I
everyone.
said, one of my business partners swears by it, and he says it like changed his life.
And I think men especially, men always go when they're either going through a breakup or know they need to go through a breakup.
That's pretty
And
much.
when we go through the divorce, I'll connect you to Lisa.
So,
Yeah.
You'll sign up for Hoffman.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm already on the waiting list.
I think it's like a 1-year waiting list now, so you might want to start.
I got him on
So-
speed dial. Don't worry.
So anyway, I did a lot of this personal work, and I think what became really important for me, and that's maybe the message here, was I thought I could snap my fingers and be like, okay, we're back. Like, let's go create again. And I realized through that experience, there was some deep healing that needed to happen. One was just the loss of the business, right? And that was really intense. And, I had big dreams with that company. And so that was a painful experience. And then just again, like my own healing. And it wasn't like you go, okay, you wake up one day, and you're like, okay, I don't want to hurt anymore. We're good. Let's go. It took me a good 1.5 years to really create again. And, there was times I had all this self-doubt. I thought maybe I'm a one-hit wonder. Maybe that was it. Like maybe I'm not as, creative and, know how to bring things to life as well as I thought. But sure enough, through time, and then slowly but surely, as I started to get my creative back, I decided that I had to create momentum because I knew I was going to stay in health and wellness. Like I knew that this is my passion. This is my mission. I'm here to really change lives and make a difference. And so I started to just like play with the superfoods again. And actually what happened is I'm obsessed with matcha. So matcha changed my life. I came off of coffee.
You do the ceremony and everything.
I did the organic ceremonial
Yeah.
grade. That's what I was doing at the time. But I when I was coming off of coffee going to matcha, I was like, this is really gross. It tastes like grass. It tastes like dirt. Like, I know it's better for me, but like there's got to be a better way. And so doing what I normally do, I became obsessed with it, started tasting a million different, matchas, found the best ones. And then I was like, oh, what if I add all my superfoods to it? What if I add collagen and turmeric and ginger and mushrooms and like really super enhance this matcha? And because I go back and forth to LA, I was carrying 10 superfoods with me and mixing it at my friend's house or at the hotel. And like, of course, the light bulb goes on. I'm like, what if I turn this into a product? And so that's actually how really Kroma became sort of started was I'll just create these adaptogen super lattes using all the superfoods that I love in this powder-based form. I want the world to drink matcha because I really think it's so incredibly good for you. And that became sort of the momentum I needed to ultimately bring the new brand Kroma to life. But it took time.
Do you decide that you want strategic investors this time that are celebrities or well-known people, or was that something that you just fell into? Was there thought and process behind that?
So what was the thought and process?
Did you go panhandle at Hoffman or?
I know. Go to Hoffman and get your investors.
I should have. Yeah,
Just
bad
kidding.
timing.
Just
That's
kidding. Just
efficient.
kidding.
Really bad timing.
You
So
miss Katy Perry.
a couple things happened. So when, as we fast forward this, so as I'm creating these products, I've got this momentum, I'm getting my zhuzh back, and I end up meeting this guy who became my business partner because I needed a partner. So one of the things that I didn't have at Beaming that really cost us is I didn't have an operational partner.
Can you talk about that for a minute? Because I think it's a big, like the more we kind of like delve into business and entrepreneurs on this show, I think it's really important to kind of like define lanes in some
100%.
cases. Because I think a lot of people get in trouble. They try to take everything on. And like the dynamic of Lauren and I, for example, is there's probably like left, right brain. Like one's very, very creative. one's more analytical, one's more operations, one's more like design branding. And I'm not saying we kind of don't bounce back and forth between both, but like I think that's been one of the things that's at least worked for us. Is like I couldn't
it's
do
necessary.
what she did. Yes.
Absolutely. And that banter and that interaction, because you do have different skill sets. And I think any entrepreneur who tries to do it all, it's just not possible. And I know I'm not a great operator. I'm not one that's going to go create a pro forma or financial model. And I needed that partner. And I want the dashboard. I want the data to make decisions from, but I'm not going to be the person that does that. Nor do I want to be the person that figures out how we're going to create all the products. I'll go create the recipes. Somebody else go figure out how we're going to produce them.
And how do you find this partner that you're looking for? Is it you just put the word out?
So there was that. And then this is so random. I was at, what's the music festival in San Diego? I can't make this shit up.
Crossed?
No, the one that was at the fairgrounds.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, I know. Not Oz. No. Was it? What kind of music was it?
Well, it was like it could have been Mumford and Sons. Like it only lasted for like 2 years. It was a music festival in San Diego, and I'm totally blanking on the name.
I know what you're talking about, though. The racetrack fairgrounds.
The racetrack, yeah. And so I'm at this music festival, and there's this guy standing next to me, and he picks up my glasses from the ground and hands them to me. I literally can't make this shit up. And he and I become friends. And that ultimately ended up leading to him being my business partner, because I learned he was a VC guy. He had gone to Booth. He had like really understood numbers. And I was like, hey, you want to help me with my financial model? And as that happened, it was just one of those random, but absolutely we were supposed to meet moments, like divine kind of moments.
Wow. He handed you your glasses.
At a music festival, listening to Mumford and Sons.
For guys handing you stuff.
And he was really cute. Like he had this really sweet energy. So yeah, through that, he and I became business partners. And what was thank God for this. So imagine this is September 2019. And, I've been doing entrepreneurship's lonely, right?
Sure.
Really fucking lonely.
Yeah.
And so and to wake up every day and motivate yourself is really hard. So thank God I get this guy who says,
you can never complain to anyone about it, because everyone just says, well, lucky you, look what you're doing. Right?
Totally.
You just do whatever you want. But it's not
brutal.
Yeah.
And thank God I had amazing friends and advisors that were like, Lisa, you got this. You can do this. You can do this. I'm like, are you sure? Like maybe it's a bad idea. All the stuff, the chatter in the head. So this guy leaves his venture group and is like, I'll do this with you. And slowly but surely, like he and I start creating the whole business model together. And the idea for this 5-day reset sort of came through this process of me going, I'm not trying to create a latte company. I actually want to create, much like I did with Beaming, I just want to recreate Beaming, but in a way that can transform lives. Like, how can I give you an opportunity to feel how good you feel when you put really good food in your body? Do it in this non-perishable way so you can travel with it. It can be in your pantry. You can make it work for you. It can reach people everywhere. And that became sort of just now getting in the kitchen and creating more and more and more and more products. I didn't have any money yet, hadn't raised any money yet. He and I create the business model. We create the business plan. It's beautiful. I'm ready to tell the world. And the day we finished it was the day the world shut down with COVID.
Oh,
And so I'm getting back to your question about investors.
COVID, I mean, there was opportunity there though, because you do this at home.
So I have a lot of black, nude, white, gray clothes. And in Cabo, I wanted to spice it up and add some neons. I just wanted to switch it up, but I didn't want to shell out a bunch of money. So what I did is I went to Fashion Pass, okay? Fashion Pass is a clothing rental service where you can get unlimited rentals for one flat price. But here's the deal, and this is why I like it. They carry the best brands. So they have like For Love and Lemons, Free People. I got something from Show Me Your Muumuu. They really have so many brands that are on the pulse. And what you can do is you can swap out your items as many times a month as you want. So basically you're just like getting new clothes every single week. It's amazing. And this is so great if you go on a trip and you want to like mix it up. Maybe you're going out of the country and you want to do something that you like wouldn't do normally. I know I wanted to do a lot of lilacs and hot pinks in Cabo, but honestly, I just don't wear hot pink and lilac normally. So to be able to go on there, get my clothes, it ships so fast. And my favorite part, they take care of dry cleaning. So you literally just send it back. They sent me like this pre-labeled bag. and you can just send it back when you're done. It literally could not be easier. Okay, so we have a special discount for you today. If you go to fashionpass.com and use code skinny at checkout, you get $60 off your first month. So you can try it literally for $29. That's unlimited rentals for just $29 with code skinny. I'm telling you, go stalk their site. You won't be sorry. Recently, I did an Instagram story breakdown on my supplements, my minerals, and my vitamins. And first on that list, as always, is my Ritual multivitamin. So here's the deal. I've been taking this multivitamin for the last 3 years. I took it for getting pregnant. Like when I wanted to get pregnant, I took it. Then I took it during my pregnancy. And then I took the postpartum one after my pregnancy. And now I'm just back to Ritual's Essential for Women 18 plus. So this is a multivitamin that's clinically backed. It has traceable key ingredients, so you know where it's coming from. Like literally you can go on their website and see where everything comes from, which is incredible. It's also soy-free, gluten-free, vegan-friendly, and formulated without GMOs. I was having trouble swallowing a multivitamin, but this one has like this minty essence. So it's very easy to swallow. I take this every single day. I tell all my friends and family about it. I just think it is the best multivitamin on the market. Ritual knows it's basically impossible to get all the nutrients you need from your diet 100% of the time. So this vitamin helps you focus on what's important. So they're filling in key nutrient gaps to support your foundational health. Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supporting foundational health. And great news, Ritual is offering all our listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. You're going to visit ritual.com/skinny to start Ritual or add Essential for Women 18 plus to your subscription today. If you watch my Instagram stories, you know that I just did a fridge makeover. I got so serious about it. I got like an egg organizer. I organized my cheeses. I even got like a soda holder to hold my sparkling water. And you know what else I got? I got acrylic holders for my snacks. And one of those snacks, the main snacks, is Perfect Bar. Okay, so first of all, this snack has 6 grams of protein. So you can just grab it and you feel like you've gotten a treat, but you've also gotten protein, if you know what I mean. So our fridge is like stocked. In one acrylic holder, we have dark chocolate chip peanut butter with sea salt. And then in the other acrylic holder, we have coconut peanut butter and cookie dough. I like to keep mine in the fridge. They also recommend it in the fridge. And if you need something after a workout or a quick bite or a snack. So if you're looking for something quick after a workout or just a snack, they got you. They're non-GMO, they're gluten-free, soy-free, kosher, and low GI. Perfect Bar knows it will be love at first bite. So you guys, for a limited time, they're offering you a chance to try their refrigerated protein bars for free. So here's how it works. You're going to sign up for email or text and upload a picture of your receipt from your local grocery store. And then they'll reimburse you for the cost of 1 bar directly into your Venmo or PayPal account. I mean, this is pretty cool, right? So all you have to do is go to perfectsnacks.com/skinny to get a free Perfect Bar today. That's perfectsnacks.com/skinny to get a free Perfect Bar today. Happy snacking.
Yes. And so, mind you, like I needed money, right? And
not the best raising environment, Lauren.
Not the best rate. I mean, we were trying to figure out how to get toilet paper and groceries, right? And so I can't ask people for money. So, like, all right, shift in plans. Now what do I do? So then my daughter and I started creating the beta program for the 5-day reset for Kroma. And we'd get in the kitchen and we're like making all the little things. We're like, all right, let's just go do what we did with Beaming and put it out there and see what happens. And that became viral. And once again, I had this incredible program. People became obsessed with the products. They lost weight. They felt great. They were like, I want the matcha. I want the spicy passion. I want the brass. I want the cookie butter. I want all the things. And so those people ended up becoming investors. Now, going back to your question, I had learned some hard lessons from Beaming. So I knew I wasn't going to raise money the same way. And I was going to choose who these investors were. And I had a vision on a couple things. One, what if I could have mostly female investors? That was one. What if we could have some really, like maybe we have some celebrities? That would be really cool. And what I really wanted was I want people who love what we do so much, they want to help me tell the world. And that was the goal. And then the right people with the right energy would show up. So fast forward, there's actually some really good juicy stuff here. But so Everyone's telling me no. I'm talking to VCs. There's no, 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 no. So anyone that's raised.
What was the main reasons for the no's? Just out of curiosity.
Perfect. Get proof of concept. Love the idea. Your products are amazing. They'd been burned too many times from, they invested in these startups that didn't have any revenue. And they're like, we love what you're doing, but you're too early. And so, but that's hard too when you're raising money because you're like, fuck, like your baby's ugly. It's basically what they're telling you.
Yep.
And so you have to keep like standing up and you get your nose and your nose and your nose. And finally, so I get to this point and I'm going to get my first investor and he comes in and he's an angel investor and he's going to give us $3 million. And he's like promising me the world. He's crying to me, telling me how this program changed his life.
That's love bombing, but go on.
Okay, well, it wasn't love bombing me, but he was a billionaire. Let me just also make this note because this is a really important thing. And he is just telling me how this Kroma is going to change the world. I meet the family. Like, this is like, and something in me said, this isn't good. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be like, something's wrong. And I would tell Alex, my business partner, and he's like, Lisa, just take the fucking money. And I was like, no, something's wrong. I don't trust him. And I tried to Google him. There was no information. And yes, he's a billionaire. I did know that, but like very hidden billionaire.
Yeah. All those guys scrape the internet.
And so, yeah, they actually would.
They have firms that actually scrape.
1000%.
Yeah.
So anyway, we go forward. We get the deal on paper. The day he's supposed to fund, he disappears. We never hear from him again. Now, mind you, I've emptied my 401k. I don't have $1 to my name. I can't even pay rent and like buy food. Again, I'm not going to be homeless.
Was he a real billionaire or did he just ghost?
No, he's a real freaking billionaire, but he was playing us.
Yeah, he just goes. Okay.
Wait, why would he play you? I don't get the point of that. That sounds like a waste of time.
Who the fuck knows? I don't know. I mean, people do
was
this.
he like trying to fuck you? Like what was his motive?
I tell this story and people are like, oh, that happens all the time.
Wait, what? But
I'm like, what?
If
This
you're
happens?
an actual billionaire,
yeah.
Why would he string you along to the end? Like, what is in it for him? I don't understand.
Ego.
Yeah, actually, I think ego. Absolutely.
Just wanting to feel like.
And also, I think it didn't really matter to him. He's like, yes, $3 million, whatever. Not thinking like, here's this girl who's like risked everything and her 401k. It was just like, no big deal. Let me just go back to my other deals.
I think when what you were feeling of the intuition of what something's wrong here is when someone tries to get close to you too quick and they like tell you everything you're saying, you're meeting the family too quick. I feel like my antenna goes up with that. Like you have to like court a person and get to know them before you just shove it in all the way.
Well, yes, no pun intended. Yes, that's true too. So I think that's a really important one. The bigger one I would actually say is like your gut instinct is always fucking right. And that is my biggest takeaway was I knew it. Thank God he disappeared. Thank God. And actually, I'll come back to this story, but like when we launched Kroma, there's an article that came out in Forbes. And it was a picture of me, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jessica Seinfeld, and Amy Schumer, all of which who had invested in the company. And it was this incredible, it's one of those articles that come out and you scream. You're like, holy shit. And this article comes out and the first thing I did, maybe not the first, but one of the first things I did is I sent it to him and I said, thank you. Thank you for being an asshole and disappearing. And that was my moment of truth because none of that would have ever happened had I done a deal. I probably would have lost the company if I'd done that deal. And the reason why that's such an important thing is sometimes we doubt ourselves, but I knew that this wasn't the right thing. And so I was able to go build an incredible group of investors, get 90% funded by women, absolutely the most incredible investor, like cap table out of a pre-revenue, pre-launch company ever. And I didn't know any of them. It wasn't like I was friends with Gwyneth or Amy or any of these people. I just met them along the way and they fell in love with my product. So the fact that guy disappeared was the best thing that could ever happen. And I think sometimes we forget, it's like when things don't go right, I promise there's something better.
Yeah, in every area, dating, relationships,
everything.
Friendships.
It applies to every aspect of life.
So after this $3 million situation happened, what was your next step and how did you start to meet all these people along the way? Like walk us through that.
Yeah, you dial for dollars, right? So I was like, on LinkedIn, reaching out to anyone and everyone. I'm asking my friends, can you make introductions? And it takes the first yes. That's the hardest one, right? And my first check was from the former CEO of Twitter, Dick Costello. And he made an introduction. So he was the first check, which was a good first check. Again, I didn't know him. And he made an introduction to this guy named John Callahan, who was the first check-in Peloton. And he said, I see the same thing in you as I do in the founder of Peloton, which was a nice compliment. And then the third person was the former CEO of Blue Bottle Coffee. So I started with 3 really great people. And then those people made introductions. And that just sort of webbed out. And then there was just kind of kept going and kept going. And then there reached a point where we'd reached half the money. And so my first check was November 3rd, 2020. And it was February 2021. And I had raised half the money. And I woke up on a Sunday morning exhausted. I was like, God, this is so hard. Like, I just want to get this off the ground.
And people don't realize, if you haven't done it, how hard, and it sounds like glamorous, but like raising capital and doing all those pitch meetings and going back and forth and dealing with term sheets, and it is miserable.
It's miserable because you're every day just like you're a puppet. And
you're trying to run and start the business at the same time.
And
like
life is still going on.
Yeah.
Like, shit, like other stuff. You're still mom and all these other things while you're like, showtime, like for your next pitch, right? And most of the time people are telling you no.
And for people that don't like hearing no, it's like nails on a chalkboard because you mostly get no's.
It's really painful.
Yeah.
So I wake up this Sunday morning and I'm like, I'm so tired. This has to happen. And I get a text from one of our investors, Melody McCloskey, who's the CEO of Style Seat. Amazing woman. And maybe you know her. And she texts me, she goes, go check your email. And I was like, okay. And there's an email from Gwyneth Paltrow that says, hey, Lisa, I've been a big fan of yours, which no, I did not, but she was a huge fan of Beaming. And she reached out and she said, I heard you have a new wellness brand and I'd love to hear about it. And that was obviously a massive turning point, which I think what's also important in that story is there's just, I couldn't chart that. Like did I know in my heart, like someday maybe Gwyneth would be involved? Yes. Did I think I was going to wake up to an email from her? No. And just like all those moments where you're in doubt, or it's just at that kind of that moment where you're like, can I keep doing this? There's always something that kind of gives you that sign that says, keep going. You got this.
And also, if you didn't have your first brand, that she probably maybe wouldn't have reached out for this brand because like that's what
she would not have.
Yeah, because she fell in love with the first thing. So even the thing that you said you had to walk away from, like that was the thing that
I had a really good reputation from that brand for sure, and that absolutely helped me here. So to your point, as much as it didn't play out the way I'd wanted, it's been an incredible catalyst for me to attract the people that I did, for sure.
So you get Gwyneth Paltrow. Is she like involved in product tasting? Is she involved in the process? How does someone like her get involved as an investor?
She's actually all of my investors are pretty passive. What they are is they'll make a mention in a magazine. The celebrities, I should say. They'll make a mention in a magazine or they'll do a post. I don't ask for anything. I really let them do it. It's all organic. I get them excited about it. They're excited about the product. They love it. They want to tell the world. And that was my vision from the beginning is, can I have a group of investors, whether it's a celebrity or the mom in the community that like tells everybody what she's doing and everyone in between? That's what I wanted. And that's what we got.
And how have you seen it take off since you got that email? Has it just like the trajectory been crazy?
So that certainly adds a lot of credibility. And through that, we were able to raise all the money, certainly. And Jessica Seinfeld came in and Amy Schumer, and we've just continued to have like such great investors. But what I really appreciate about all of them is just their passion and support. And, just everyone, if I send an email or I kind of just like give a little nudge, like they're excited. They're very passionate. They believe in the mission and they believe in me, which is huge.
So what is your vision for this? Because I will say it's really good.
Thank you.
It's good, you guys. And that cookie butter is staring at me in the face. It is really, really good.
Thank you.
So what's like your overall vision? Is it just to continue to get this to every single person possible?
So we launched July 22nd last year. So we're 15 months old. We launched with 14 products and our 5-day reset. Not something I recommend for any entrepreneur trying to launch a product. Maybe start with one. Yeah. But because I had this business partner who was really freaking good, he was able to manage the complexity of 5 co-packers and 200 ingredients and all the craziness and this very elaborate packaging system.
Well, for what you're doing, it plays together.
It all plays together. I want the reason why this box is what it is. And by the way, you guys may not know this. There's 45 different sachets, all different colors. It's a wheel. It was like designed after the Kodak color wheel, like really dating myself. And on the back, there's a message that I wrote of inspiration or education on every single sachet that is like a little surprise and delight. So for me, everything about this is like, I want wellness to be something that you look forward to. I want it to be when that package arrives on the door, it's like an Apple experience. Like the unboxing is like, I get to do this. I get to take care of myself. And that's really how we envision this. What I think makes this so unique, and this was the same approach with Beaming, is I care more about lifestyle. I care about like making those simple changes in your everyday life. And how can we support that? So when you do the 5-day, which is our hero product, people, first of all, they love it. They feel great. They lose weight, but they didn't starve themselves. And that you get broths and porridge and cookie butter and a matcha latte in the morning. And it's a very lifestyle based. And then they fall in love with stuff. And then they want it all the time. And so for me, how many times have you done a cleanse or a reset or a detox? One, you're miserable, usually. And so like suffered for 3, 4, 5 days. That doesn't happen here. But the other is like, then you're like, okay, great. I lost a couple pounds. Now what? And to me, it's the after that matters the most, because that's where real transformation happens. That's where you're like, okay, I'm inspired. I got this. I feel great. I look really good. And I love the matcha and the porridge and the cookie butter and the broth. And I'm going to keep using those every day. And they travel with me. And so those baby steps keep building on themselves.
So you're integrating the products into your day-to-day as opposed to just stopping and like binging on chips and salsa.
Yeah, you're like,
and you can still do that, honestly. And that's part of what we like. We're not about perfection. Like on our photo shoot this week, I ate Cheetos and Oreos. Like I don't ever do that, but like
Cheetos are so good. Can you invent a healthy
and put them
Cheeto?
Together? So, and I never eat, but I don't beat myself up for it. I'm like, okay, it's a stressful shoot. Cheetos really hit the spot. And that's a really big part of what we're doing. In fact, I'm going to add on to that. We just launched our Cleanse with Chocolate campaign, which is the whole concept. You do get chocolate. You're not eating chocolate for 5 days, but you get a piece of chocolate every day. And the whole idea is it's like enjoy the pleasures of life. Like have that bite of chocolate and just savor it. And it's so amazing when you're doing a program like this. One, it's total surprise. You get this little square. It's we have a chocolatier that made it for us. It's the pure chocolate. And then you get to savor it and you're like, oh, I didn't need the whole chocolate bar. Just the one bite was so special. And so much of what we're teaching is just about intuitive eating.
The ingredients that you have in this are very high quality ingredients. How do you source all of these incredible ingredients?
So that was a big part of the process because again, with Beaming, I go not only create the recipes with my daughter, but we also source and find everything. So everything from the ginger to the maple sugar to testing 100, organic ceremonial grade matchas, finding a plant protein that was non-lectin, non-isolate, not highly processed, was not easy to do. And I was on a mission because most people use pea protein and it's highly processed. And for a lot of people, it's actually really hard to digest. And so I found this incredible plant protein in Ecuador called chocho. And so for about a big part of this creation was finding the best of the best. And, I've never skimped on anything. And I'm very particular about flavor. And that's why I personally create the products, with my daughter, is so that we can get it exactly the way we want. I mean, our bone broth comes from Australia. It's made with a refractionated process.
Is that what I'm drinking right here? This is really good.
You're drinking the veggie bone broth.
Are you doing the veg? No, you've got the beef.
Oh, the beef.
Yeah.
I'm drinking the veggie bone broth.
No, our broths are insane. And so it's just like everything has been thought about, both from a nutritional standpoint, as well as your flavor, your experience, and packaging, just the vibrancy of it, all of it.
And who should do this cleanse? Could it be anyone? Could you do it for 10 days? Can you do it for a month? Do you need to be gluten-free? Like, who can do this?
So it's all gluten-free, dairy-free. What's really cool is it's customizable. So this is also a really unique thing.
Really cool. That's cool.
Yeah, because everyone's body's different. Everyone's goals are different. Somebody might be an elite athlete and they need more. They're going to want to maybe add more protein and nuts or bananas or whatever they want, because it's really about, again, that intuitive eating. So maybe you've got a big event coming up and you need to lose a couple pounds, right? And you just need a cleanup, where you came off a huge vacation and it's like it's cleanup time.
Right.
So it's really designed that you make it work for you. And because you're eating, I mean, anyone can do this. It's like you're not starving yourself. In fact, what people tell us, because you get 10 things a day, they're like, they almost get mad. They're like, it's too much food. And that's actually the point, is then don't eat it all.
Right.
Like, actually, you get to decide.
You're retraining your brain.
Like, maybe I don't need that smoothie or that afternoon latte, or maybe I don't even need the broth at night. Or you know what? I had a really hard workout today, because yes, you can exercise on this. That's also very unique. I don't want you to slow down. There's another program out there that like you literally can't get out of bed and you're miserable, and it's very famous.
What?
A lot of people do it. That's 5 olives. Every day. That's your food.
But I mean, I don't know what like you guys would know. You guys do know what you're talking about. Like, that sounds very strange to me. Some program you just have to sit around and not be active. Like, what?
No, you're not only not active, but you're a raving bitch. Like, you're so miserable. You can't, like, the family usually leaves the home.
Lauren, were you doing that this morning?
You never know.
And there's a place for it, but it's just not the philosophy that I followed. I am much more about lifestyle. And do I think that there's certain cleansing out there that's like very liver or gut specific? Absolutely. And that's where you involve a functional doctor. But what we're doing is we're just cleaning up. Like, we're getting off the stuff that wreaks havoc. Maybe it's drinking too much alcohol. We're going to come off the holidays. We just did, right? Like, maybe I overindulged, or I had just too much food and I just need to reset. And that's what it does without all the restriction.
Can someone just go on the site and try one of the products so they can see if they like it?
Yep, absolutely. So everything that's in the reset is actually available in an individual form. So
Go try
So like, if you
the
find
cookie
something,
butter. Go try the cookie butter. And also, I'm obsessed with this cranberry hydration elixir mix. This is
is that what we were drinking here?
Good.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
that's
you're.
really
And
good
isn't
too.
it so yummy? And that little spicy kick at the end.
It's so good.
And I swear it
Does it
is
have
like
electrolytes in
so
it?
high. Yeah, it has the coconut water in it and the cranberry and the cayenne pepper.
I'm
it's-
actually going to give some of this to my 2-year-old
Oh yeah, no,
because I want her to have electrolytes.
You know,
and
it's
maybe
so
just
funny.
dilute it a little bit.
Yeah.
because of
Right,
the
well,
spicy.
Instead
but,
of like orange juice, just
oh my
give her
god,
this.
so
We
much
have to-
better.
This is a selfish question. We have to go on a flight tomorrow at like 4 a.m. and then go for like quick and back. What would you bring here?
So I'm gonna make sure you have all sorts of goodies. I'd bring the porridge.
Okay.
Porridge.
I would bring the broths for sure. I always travel with those because it's so easy on the plane.
Yeah.
Because all you need is hot water. You
Because
guys
I never accept the food on the plane. I just
No,
I
it's
don't- I don't trust
horrible.
it, yeah.
And I mean, all you need is hot water. So you'll have your Kroma mugs. And then, of course, the greens powder would be great just because you're going to get that fuel and all the greens, especially traveling. The cranberry elixir would be great. And for a latte, I mean, I'm obsessed with our matcha. I think it's insane.
How much
So-
caffeine is in it? Because I like caffeine. I like a kick.
So it's at least double normal. I mean,
Okay.
I load it because I want it too. I came off of coffee.
Put a little cocaine
Yeah.
in there.
So maybe not. Maybe not.
they're all
So,
under the kick.
a little surprise.
But the caffeine is double the caffeine.
It's double the caffeine. There's at least 60 milligrams. But it's, the thing about matcha, and you guys know this, is like, it doesn't have that same zing that coffee does. And I am not coffee bashing at all. It's just the benefits of matcha are real. And like it's a mood enhancer. It's like an amazing, actually, if like you drank too much, it's like incredible for a hangover cure. It's so good for just balancing energy so you don't have that crash. And then, of course, we've loaded it with the collagen and turmeric and ginger and all sorts of other mushrooms
I know
and
there's like
stuff.
turmeric root, maple sugar.
But we've got
goji,
1 gram of sugar. So we keep
1 gram of
everything
sugar.
really, really low, but still has enough sweet that you
No,
like it.
honestly, like this is my vibe because you want brands either add too much sugar or too little. You
Yeah.
want like slightly sweet, but not like overpowering.
And it's really hard to do that, by the way.
Yes.
Really
it's a balance.
hard.
It either
to
tastes
do
like
that.
turpentine or it's like a pure sugar bomb.
It's pure sugar. And I don't care if it's like it's no sugar. There's that fake sugar taste that's
Yes.
so foul.
Yes.
And it's really hard to create that balance. And so like even just the way we played with maple sugar, like I used that instead of coconut sugar because you can just use a tiny bit and then use a little bit of fresh monk fruit. So the balance of all those things, I think, is something that we do really, really well. And so it does give you just enough sweet but not so much that I'm going to make you sugar addicted.
And the porridge, I love how you guys have 8 grams of protein. And like you said, you have that healthy fat in there and you have flaxseed. I mean, this is like, I'm giving this to my daughter.
It's so good. Kids
This
love
is
it.
really
Just put
fun.
some
I know, I'm
berries
giving
on
this to her.
it. And kids love it.
Okay.
And they also love the cookie butter. I think what I love about the super
she's gonna
porridge.
say cookie butter, cookie butter, cookie butter.
I want to hear her do that.
Yeah,
I'll put
she
it on camera. But I think with the porridge, it's just nuts and seeds. And so this perfect little breakfast ignites your metabolism. It tastes delicious. You're not hungry for hours. And that's the other thing that I think was really important with the reset was like, I just want you to fight. Like if you normally eat bagels or you skip breakfast or you're sick of eggs, like it's just an alternative, but it's so healthy for you and it's nourishing your brain.
This is really, really smart too. Like I'm always looking for things to give my toddler. But what's annoying sometimes I feel like is you're making your toddler this like a certain kind of food and then you're making yourself something like very different because they won't eat it. But with this, I feel like you can do it both at once and you can eat something and your toddler can eat it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And they love the broth too. The broth is so good.
I'm going to do a lot of tricking.
Yeah.
A lot of tricking with that.
I mean, I've always approached this like, how can we do something for the family? And so that's really Beaming did that. All the kids came there after soccer practice or, in between instead of McDonald's. And so I got really excited about that as a mom.
Yeah.
And so the products are designed, many of them so that kids could have them too.
What is really cute about this, you guys, is it's this huge white box. You have to go on their site and check it out. It's like gold details. And then they have a gold frother, which I love a frother.
Yeah, it's a good frother
This is a great frother. And then they have this little cup, which the way that I found out about Kroma was through Kristen Cavallari. She was drinking this cup on her Instagram stories. And it's this mug. And so basically everything that you have in here, you can put in the mug, right?
No, it's perfect. It's the perfect size. It's an elemental mug. I'm obsessed with these mugs because it's
cute.
It's ceramic. So it's really nice.
Don't try to steal my mug. He's already, this is what he does.
I pray I have one for you, Michael.
Yeah, I already
Don't
see
worry,
what you're doing.
I'll steal it from her if I have to.
So tomorrow he's going to wake up with his mug and his bone broth. I already can see.
You guys are going to be fighting over it. I promise I'll give you plenty to take.
Okay, he's going to want a mug.
But then you also get this like little hemp bag.
Cute.
Which is so cute. And then
Really
you can throw your frother and your sachets in there. Like, again, it's just this like little on the go.
Lisa, you're a genius. Can we do a code for our audience and a giveaway for one of these?
Absolutely. So we're going to do 20%, which is like really cool, especially in January.
Okay.
It's Skinny 20.
Skinny 20, you guys. I'm going to use my own code on this. I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. I'm sitting here looking at all the ingredients and trying it, and I'm obsessed. And we're going to do a giveaway. All you have to do is follow. What's your Instagram?
It's Kroma Wellness.
Kroma Wellness.
With a K.
With a K. Kroma. And follow them on Instagram. And then tell us your favorite part of this episode with Lisa on my latest Instagram at Lauren Bostick. Lisa, come back anytime. Where can everyone
Had a
shop?
whole brief and didn't even need to use it
We
with you.
didn't even need to use it.
You're a pro on the
You're
mic.
a pro on the mic.
This is so fun.
We could have gone so many different directions. Where can everyone find this cookie butter?
So kromawellness.com with a K. And it's as good as she's saying.
You guys.
I'm obsessed.
We're
It's
going to
like,
link it all out too.
I'm going to go stuff a big spoonful in my mouth the second we're
Let
done
me
with
ask you a
this.
real question, actually. What is the serving size? Do you eat the whole jar or do you?
So Lauren might, and I've had that happen on the reset before. They're like, "Oh, I wasn't supposed to eat it all in one day." It's like, well, as long as you
Because
enjoyed
I
it.
might too if I. Like, that's why I asked what is the recommended?
What's the serving size?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one or two, But
it's a
but you know
spoonful.
what's amazing?
Okay.
Is take that and whether it's gluten free or a beautiful sourdough bread,
Put it on.
put that on it. Put a little slice of banana and like a drizzle of honey.
Oh, sold.
So good. We started making this at Costa Palmos down in at the Four Seasons, and that's where we created this recipe. And then they became obsessed to put it on the menu.
Sold. I'm going to do that.
I want to do this like every single month so I can just give this to Zaza. There's so many good ideas for Zaza.
Yeah, no, really good. We were
I
just
love
talking
that.
about this too. We're like, oh, we gotta like we want to like enhance her diet now because now she has she's almost 3. She's got a different her palate's like changing, and so she can't just keep
that's
doing the
so
same
cool.
thing.
Thank you so much for coming on.
This was
Thank
so
you for
much
doing
fun,
this.
you guys. Thanks for having
Congratulations.
me.
Cheers.